Hello everyone, good morning, good evening. This is Karthik from IT Learn. Thank you so much for joining the webinar. Yesterday, I had a webinar on AnyAUT X and what we do as an organization at Varkasa Inc. and how we train our students on software test automation through IT Learn and our work from home platform for freelance QA engineering is QAonit.com. So if you missed that, I will strongly recommend you to go back and look at that. Now, there is training that I'm doing on Saturday and Sunday, like that's in fact 16th and 17th Feb. Now this training, I'm gonna come back to what we will do today after explaining about this. Now this is more timed for Indian students locally in Hyde or online. So it may not be some of the best timings when it comes to all my US audience, but this training is 8 hours a day. The way I structured it is I'm going to do core Java first, and so it is 5 hours training plus 2 hours group projects. So that's going to be very, very interesting thing. You can find online tutorials and trainings anywhere on software testing, but the projects are a very, very essential component, and that is our focus. And in the same structure, control is home on this keyboard. Let me do it. I just thought I'll copy paste, and I'll also increase the font size team in a quick second. I'm gonna then do Selenium web driver with plus automation frameworks. And team, during the webinar, any challenge or question, you can put it in the chat. But then you all know from a sorry, there was a question from one of the audience. I just saw that. It's primarily about I do live webinars, yes, but we have a strong video library as well, so you would never miss things. But at the same time, how do we structure these and deliver is something I'm very focused. This is the plan for the next 2 days. Day 1, day 2. The timings are a little very India IST based for now, so it may be pretty late for people in Eastern time zone, and I'm aware of it. But again, I'm going to repeat these sessions immediately after these. For US, UK coverage. All right, it's going to be very interesting training team because not just the technologies have evolved, even my tutoring has evolved significantly, especially with the strength that there's so many projects coming our way. And I know exactly at the moment in terms of what United States is looking for when it comes to SDETs and software test automation. I don't know or I'm not very strong on DevOps or CICD. I'm core automation all about automation frameworks and what they are. So today I am kind of doing this session to represent the finishing the last session of the Selenium live training that I started in November. So we had a little gap earlier, team, but I'm glad that we could connect you all on Skype, where you were able to interact with each other and practiced a lot. And that way, learning becomes a little bit convenient, luckily. But again, I apologize that I delayed it. This class is about automation frameworks and what they are. I would have preferred a better system where I could also show the scripts and run them. Maybe tomorrow. Okay, I'll show what we can do on that tomorrow. But today I'm going to do more of a theoretical explanation on what these frameworks are and why we built them. All right. So that's my agenda. Any questions before we get started, everyone? I just want to discuss on software test automation frameworks, how they evolved and how we've come there. And can I ask you questions that you can put on chat? What are the different types of automation frameworks? More like, basic. What does come into your mind randomly? Anyone? Knock, knock. Okay, I got one. Data-driven, keyword, Excel-driven, DDF, KDF, hybrid, page object model, and so here is what I got. Sumohita, I really like what you said. See, the frameworks have evolved over a period of years as programming also evolved, right? Now, the ones that were mentioned to me were basically DDF, which is data-driven framework. Okay, we will talk a lot about it. Why did data-driven framework come? Then why did KDF come? Why did page object model come? And sometimes I look at both of them, page object model and page factory, is almost the same automation frameworks. All right, but there's subtle differences, but still they're frameworks. 1 second, team. Sorry, I'm back. So, okay, now I hear some more. When we combine a few more, they become hybrid, any combination of any 2 or more frameworks built together. All right. I also saw a few more chat messages on TDD, someone mentioned. And what is TDD? Test Driven Development. What is BDD? There's a BDD also, right? Is it business driven? I'm 100% not sure, but I know what is ATDD. Acceptance Test Driven Development. All right. Now, before we kind of talk about these, where do we start? We're talking about late 90s, very early 2000s. Okay, there was a company called Windrunner, Load Runner, and this was by Mercury Interactive. I don't know if it's interactive or not. Got acquired in early 2000s by HP, and HP then renamed Windrunner to HP QTP, Quick Test Professional. Okay, and then more recently UFT, Lean, and I stopped looking at HP for a while now. Now HP, QTP, UFT, Lean, all this is a well packaged all-in-one scenario. So when I started to look at how we write VB scripting onto run these QTP programs, the first and foremost thing is linear framework. The concept of linear framework, let me start. Simple, straight program / code. I'm talking about code. It's all about coding. It's all about programming team, automation. Without anything else. Like, what do I mean? How will my test code look? It will look like commands, just steps. Okay, I'm writing like test steps. Open browser, log in, do anything, log out. Okay, each and everything is packed within itself. It's a straight looking code, no functions, no any kind of a drama around it. That was the first framework. That way, for each test case, I had to write. When I say I, we all, I represent that. Write one new program. You understand, team? And sometimes test cases for larger or can be over how much? When we talk about larger org / apps, okay, it's all about applications. Can be over 1,000. Oops, who was that? I'm sorry, something came on the mic. 1 second, team.
Hi, Karthik. Venkat here. Good morning, Karthik.
Hi, Venkat. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Venkat. Yeah, great. So, now first framework is your linear framework. We're straight. Now, what is the complexity in such a framework? Why is there a challenge to create 1,000 test cases, 1,000 scripts? Maintaining code and programs is an enormous effort, okay, and that isn't efficient. There is nothing called reusability or anything. It's just straight one script per program, per test case, and executing it. Then came the second framework, that is called the functional decomposition model. The only thing that this framework provided to us is the fact that, hey, can we at least put certain key test repeatable steps. Is that word correct? No, repeatable. Okay, I think that's correct. The advantage of Notepad, not actually disadvantage, is that there's no spell correction, right? So I get very conscious. I hope that repeatable. See, hey, can we at least put certain key test repeatable steps into one umbrella? And that is your function. Public void my function A. All right. Pass inputs, don't pass inputs, your call. I'm not doing all the syntax. I'm just representing what I intend to show. Inside this said, let us write functions for reusability. Okay. So look at some of these keywords that I'm highlighting to you slowly. Now, with this functional decomposition model, what happened? For 1,000 test cases, I now have reduced the number of programs for execution, and that is maybe it came down to 500 scripts were written. Now that was the improvement from linear to functional decomposition model, where they said let's put something into reusability. Let's put something where we can call again and again and reduce the effort that we have for such linear framework. Going back again, we're talking about Windrunner, LoadRunner, Mercury Interactive, and then HPQTP and so on. Now, around this time came a rebel. Okay. And that rebel, when I mean to say, someone said it's free, Selenium Automation. Late 2000, I mean, more towards 2007, 8, 9 time frame, slowly, they said all free. And then provided only two things at that time. One is Selenium IDE plus Selenium RC, it was called remote control, where remotely I could control browsers. Later evolved WebDriver. Now, when these frameworks were happening, one of the good things that HPQTP did or Windrunner did is the ability to record and playback tests. Why did they create this? They said programming is not a cup of tea for QA engineers. All right, but don't misunderstand in terms of the capability of HPQTP as a product. It is amazing. It's got everything built into one, and hence extremely costly licensed. It's a great product. It's a fantastic product. But they said record, run, record a test and play it back. The reason Selenium IDE got popular is around the times when web apps were really flourishing. Okay. And they started focusing on web-based apps only. QTP used to do both for, we used to have add-ons if an application is built on Java or .NET, or I don't even remember now how many more. QTP used to have SAP and PeopleSoft, I don't know, but SAP also plugins. It recognizes the code and understands what to do, the smart ones. But they didn't give the power of writing very hardcore scripting into the hands of QA engineers. All right. But slowly then came, now we're saying the fact that, all right, how much more faster can we run became primary. Like, you know, not only speed of execution, how fast can we test? Faster can we test is a better one. All right. Now, 1,000 test cases still exist, but then came a challenge. I need to execute 1,000 test cases versus, okay, times multiplication of 100 sets of changing test data. How are we going to do that then? Then came your for loop. Where it said, let us loop the 1,000 test cases and we will read data, test data from any external source. Now at this time, what is the easiest database that was available? Excel sheet. Why? Because again, QA engineers don't want to these tools are built in a way that they don't want to put extreme programming into QA engineers, like limited. Today we're talking about SDETs, but when you step back about 10-15 years ago, it was pretty different. Then all we had to teach for our programs, our code to read and write back to an Excel. Why? I can store my test data in an Excel easily in simple rows and columns, and I'll read it each time. I'll put some variables inside this for loop and repeat it. All right, that was data-driven framework, one of the most first popularist framework. It said, wow, now I can do it. Around this time also came the fact that I need to do cross-browser testing. All right, we now have one application, 1000 test cases times 100 sets of test data times 7 browsers times 4 OS operating systems. Like I wanted to do it on Mac, Windows, Linux. I need to test it. Why? It is all an end user command and demand. Right? Now look at how much execution is getting done. It's almost astronomical in terms of numbers. It is multiplication. 1000 test case, I have to repeat it. Now came, I need more and more efficiency. All right. And reusability. And I will never miss accuracy, because at the end, if my script is not correct, it will do incorrect testing and there's no confidence onto it. All right. Then we thought, okay, it's not okay, Google, but okay, we already taught VB and Java, and Selenium actually luckily came up with a lot of things. I'm not trying to talk about Selenium or QTP much, more about frameworks and how they evolved. So we already taught VB and Java to read and write from an Excel. Cool. Then said, let's be a little bit more smarter and create a keyword driven framework. Now what we did is basically this one. Look at it. Okay, data in the Excel. All right, now what I did, I'm moving my test cases also into the Excel file. All right, students, remember when I say students, my early batch, how we wrote those scripts, and now you are able to see why we have multiple sheets into an Excel file, one for test cases, one for test steps, one for test data. Then came keyword driven framework. All they're trying to do is the ability to run more and more scripts. My driver script is only one .java program. I will have maybe 4 to 5 utility files around it. All right, but my core program, from 1000 test cases, have 1000 Java programs or VB programs, script, to one single script that handles everything. Why? Because we could very neatly take data and put it in the Excel, test cases and test steps into the Excel, and that gave phenomenal ability team. This was around 2008-9 time frame that I really sat down and researched and developed this very strongly. Now what happened? Web apps, lot of web apps. Okay, mobile apps, all right, still mobile apps and mobile apps, it's a different world and market altogether. But web applications started pouring in, all right. And then came the challenge of knowing a little bit of HTML and CSS for only one purpose mainly. I'm talking about all for QA engineers only. Element identification. Automation is all about teaching a stupid, non-intelligent tool, telling where to go, where to click, and what to do. All right. Now, element identification created one more challenge, that my pages have objects. Now, sometimes they may change. All right. The model that has been shown as page object model in Page Factory with extra complications in Eclipse as an IDE is not something I like. What I believe then is, let's move even the element identifiers for every object slash element in a web page. Okay. Now look, everything is gone into the Excel, and that is our page object model. So now I'm driving my test from the Excel file. All right, and that's the power of how this has got evolved, and this is the history of the entire process of automation frameworks. Now, don't debate or stress your mind as to what framework fits which industry, which project has which one. There is only one framework from my perspective, that is called hybrid framework. All right. If I moved my data, if I moved my test cases, test steps, and even elements from the web pages into the automation, into the Excel file, that is hybrid framework, where I will use combo. So if a client comes to me and ever asks, right, which framework do you think is right, I will say the effort is the same. Let us create hybrid framework with sincere clarity from the beginning, depending on what, how to execute, how to link it with their build cycle, how to identify, report defects and retest it. It comes after you build this, but the process is one thing. We will get a script, we will get you the code as a base. Now let's build over it, and that actually is now AnyAUT HTML from my perspective. Any questions? I'm going to go on mute for about 20 seconds. Any questions, please, audience? Sorry, I'm back. Had to take a sip of water. So now it is all about how do you go through this. So for, I don't know how many of you are already my past students or new students at the moment team, but for all the existing IT Learn members, this is what I've been teaching. Anytime you have a question about your capability, go back, very calmly go through an old batch on the videos. All right, and Shankar has done an amazing job to help me on more from a CICD, DevOps, how do we get Jenkins, Maven. So I focus a lot on frameworks, and very glad to have AnyAUT as a product and a lot of activity on it. Hi Venkat, I have a couple of questions for you.
Hi, Karthik. Yes, Karthik.
Great. So Venkat, I want you to create the Skype group for AnyAUT X. where I can start opening up the code behind the product and have the team members from our level 3 SDET and live projects membership into that group, please.
Yes,
And
Karthik.
okay, so and I will get active onto Skype, but the whole purpose is it is amazing to look at the code behind these frameworks now. All right, so
Yes,
let's
sir.
please, that's one action item. Um, and we have a lot of other action items from a project's perspective. I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Team, just in early communication, seems to be a possibility of some massive projects coming from US to our organization on software test automation, especially in New York. So my hopes are pretty high. And Venkat, we have a small team, Pavan, we're working on how we can bring you all together into this platform. So please ensure you all sign up on qaonair.com also. Okay, it is not active right now, but I would go and that would become my first place to look at when I'm trying to recruit or hire for these projects. And the way I'm going to do recruitment and hiring team, some I will need on-site kind of immediately in US, offshore in Hyderabad, but then I may have opportunities for work from home, maybe 10 hours a week, like 2 hours a day or 4 hours a day. So limited. So some of you can sit at home and make some decent money for a few hours a day. So it's a very comfort kind of a work atmosphere. But you must be AnyAUT Certified Tester or Developer. And QA on Air is a good platform where I'll go and hunt for the students. Oh, why didn't it go? I think I have a failure here. Is there no? I'll inform Venkat. Let's look at why this failed.
Yeah, sure.
QAOnair.com.
Yeah, sure, Karthik. We'll make a note.
Offline. We'll have Pavan assist us. See both all the links. No? So this is where testing is needed, and constantly. Once we build scripts, we should keep running on them and so on. Perfect example of how defects can come up in the application. All right, it's all about constant maintenance and so on. Team, I'm good from my side. Any other questions, comments? Did you get a decent clarity on automation frameworks, team? Like how they built, how they evolved, and anytime you need more clarity, just go back to our videos, repeat a batch, just like Netflix. Great, thank you everyone. Have a brilliant day, night ahead, and we'll see you in the next webinar. Thank you all. Bye now. Bye, Venkat. Catch up later. Thank you all.
Bye, Karthik.
Thank you.